Hello there, and welcome to this week's edition of Creative Critique. Now, the newly released theatrical film I've been to see this week is a film that, let's face it, I didn't think I'd be saying. And that film I went to see was the Angry Birds movie. Yes. So, now, let's be fair. Just because a film is based upon a game, or in this instance, a game app, for a particular random smartphone does not particularly mean that it's going to be a bad film. And let's face it, films based on products or existing materials, let's face it, let's go straight to the Lego movie, because that was the resounding success that nobody expected. So there is scope for this sort of film to be good and be very entertaining, very self-aware and things like that, and so on and so forth. I think you kind of know where I'm going to go with this, though, unfortunately. And the way I look at this is that it's not particularly bad. It's just uninspiring. So, for anybody that doesn't know about the app, the game app, effectively what you are doing, you're controlling birds who are angry, and you're shooting them at constructions, different types of constructions with pigs on them who have stolen the birds' eggs. So I think we're going to kind of know what the general theme of the film is. Of course, effectively we start off with a character called Red, voiced by Jason Sudeikis, and he's quite an outsider bird, and he's quite of a loner, considered to be quite moody, quite grumpy. He ends up having to go to anger management therapy, or anger management class, if you will. That is hosted by Maya Rudolph's character, Matilda, and he is there with two other individual birds who are played by Josh Gad. Yes, that Josh Gad who played Olaf in Frozen, who plays Chuck, a rather fast bird in this world, and a bird called Bomb, played by Danny McBride, who happens to be a bird whoever, if he is surprised or gets nervous, ends up exploding, but not exploding, if that makes any sense. He explodes, but doesn't kill himself. Don't worry, it's a game, it's an animation, it doesn't have like any sense whatsoever. So they end up forming sort of not a friendship, but I don't know how to explain that. But effectively, yeah, as I said, he's a bit of an outsider, and suddenly in this world, I'm going completely off tangent here, but suddenly in this world, effectively, some pigs turn up. Two pigs on a boat, almost explorers, if you will, explorer pigs, and they seem to be extremely welcoming and very nice and very friendly. And of course, if you know the game animation, you kind of know where it's going to go. Red obviously warns them about them, but that's just him being Red anyway in the first place. I think, oh, it's just Red being Red again. And effectively, they then have to team up and use their nous to get their eggs back, but not without first going to seek the mighty eagle. There's lots of stuff here that's making sense to game players, but not probably a lot to who are the uninitiated. There we go. I managed to say that. Who is played by, how can I put this? Well, it's played by Peter Dinklage in a kind of any way Peter Dinklage could play that sort of character. And there's another piece of weird casting that is just, if you see the name on the screen at the beginning, think, right, when's that character? When's he gonna turn up? When's he gonna turn up? And and then in the film, you're like, where was he? The person in question is Sean Penn. And because you're reading, you think Sean Penn, flipping heck, that's like a double Oscar winner, isn't it? You know, and you think, okay, he's not a top billing, but he's sort of in the sort of promising. Yeah, the support categories, the support voiceovers. And you're like, where is he? He plays a... And it's probably one of my favourite things about the film, is that I didn't realise that, and then after realising about this particular character and the fact that he plays a character called Terrence in this film, who's another bird who's like this angry man who just effectively grunts at everybody, or just menacing stares at the other birds. Yeah. it doesn't sound very funny, but in a film that was, for me, lacking a lot of nous and a lot of humour, for me personally, I find that very entertaining and very funny. Now, the stuff I admire about it, I do admire the design of the film and the actual animation. I actually think for good reason. It's very colourful. It's very bright. It's in your face. You notice a lot of the world and how it's designed. But not to a point where you go, oh my god, look at that world, rather than the story. It is beautiful. You realise it after you've watched the film, of course. So I think it's beautifully animated, generally. There's one little thing that annoyed me about getting Chuck's eyes. It looked like they were effectively just stuck onto his character, and it was weird. And it's like, you've got some of the Bomb looked quite good, and Red did as well. But something about the eyes on Chuck was ridiculously, quite fake. And considering the rest of the film was quite really well animated, it was a bit disappointing, really. So, yeah, like I say, that's stuff to admire, like I just said there. There's some decent enough voice performances. Like I say, look at the talent that I've just mentioned previously with Jason Sudeikis and Josh Gad, and Maya Rudolph and Danny McBride, and even in support categories, people like Keegan-Michael Key and Bill and Tony Hale and Kate McKinnon, and the villain of the piece, played by Bill Hader, who, yeah, he's got such a fabulous voice, Bill Hader. It's a shame he didn't get quite enough dialogue to sort of give prominence to his role better, if that makes any sense. So, like I say, there's some decent comedians, particularly in the voiceover categories. But unfortunately, it's not bad. And kids under 10, they're going to be due to be entertained. The thing is, once you've had, I'm going to cite Zootropolis this year, and the reason why is because although I really like Zootropolis, I thought there was problems with it. But when I see something like The Angry Birds movie, I think, why was I so hung up on those problems in that film, considering all the good stuff it was doing? It's because a lot of that was good, and even the slightest drop made it obvious. Whereas with this film, it is what it is. It's just okay. It's completely okay, and there's some chuckles. There's a few little laughs in there. I'm gonna say kids under 10 will be very entertained, but anything above that, you're not gonna get the same sort of audience reaction maybe that Zootropolis did, or even something that the Lego Movie did. 18 months ago. It was 2 years ago now, isn't it? Lego Movie, 2 years ago. That clever play on a product and things like that. So they were doing a delicate balancing act. They're trying to market it in a way that it would, in part, break out of its little game playing audience, but they still wanted to sort of include them in the jokes and everything like that. So there'll be a lot of stuff in there that there'll be people would just not get at all. And they're like, what is that exactly? Or just pure visual stuff that's going on with designs of things and how certain action sequences are done, which are very well done actually. I will say like I said, they're really well animated. That, but I know actually, I think the animation was great. The great animation, it was just lacking in the script and just general oomph about it. There you go. There's a review for you, isn't it? A bit of oomph. That's what it required. That's what, like I say, it's not particularly bad, but it's not great either. It's completely so-so and completely okay, but the word I keep going back to is uninspiring, when I've seen other animations do so much more, and particularly to that child audience as well, and not treat them like the children. In fact, they're trying to treat them as human beings, and give them missions that they may not be fully aware of, but in sort of seeing them in films, are then able to explore the meanings of certain things, and that is exactly what really, in part, the best animation does, and particularly children's animation. Angry Birds movie, it was okay, but uninspiring. So there we go. That was the Angry Birds movie, my theatrical release film of the week. So my classic film of the week is a film, really, that kind of deteriorated. The series deteriorated to a point where their sequels were absolutely so and so forgettable. The film in question, which is not forgettable itself, the original film, is 2001 Shrek. Now, everybody tends to know what the story of Shrek is about. Shrek is about, obviously, an ogre who effectively just wants to be left alone. A load of fairy tale creatures turn up in his swamp. He effectively goes to get rid of them by going speaking to this Lord Farquaad, and he and an annoying donkey who he encountered just slightly prior to this incident have to go and rescue a princess in order to get his swan back. that is the general plot of the film. The individuals in question who voice those characters are Mike Myers, of course, who voices Shrek the ogre. Eddie Murphy plays the talking donkey, and Cameron Diaz plays Princess Fiona, and John Lithgow plays Lord Farquaad. Lord Farquaad. I love saying that. So, big stars, and particularly obviously in the likes of Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy, great big comedic stars. And now let's face it, not every single big star. And I just refer to a film where lots of nice, good comedians are in roles, but don't have the materials in place to actually excel in those roles. Whereas in this film, Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy are absolutely dynamic. They are truly fantastic to watch, and that relationship is endearing. For reasons obvious for people who've watched the film. I won't completely obviously go into exactly things, because people need to explore things and experience them for themselves. But how that relationship evolves and unfolds is really, really good, and it's a greatly told. Of course, Cameron Diaz is great as well, and John Lithgow plays a great villain. If short. So yeah, like I said, great voice work, truly fantastic. You know, Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy have had massive input to little tweaks and things that have gone on with their characters, and particularly input on script and dialogue, things like that. Because it's particularly Eddie Murphy stuff. Some of it would only ever come out of Eddie Murphy's mouth, and that is no lie, is it? For people who've watched the film. So some fantastic character, comedic moments, and some great storytelling. Also, it's the fact that it's effectively just in 2001. That sort of period was where Disney animation didn't quite know what to do with itself, did it? It was relying on Pixar to make its movies. It just made Toy Story, the Toy Story films, and Bug's Life, and effectively this is kind of an anti-Disney movie, but still paying homage in many aspects to it. It's a topsy-turvy Disney movie. That's what it is, really. Now the thing about the film is that this sort of film, clearly they could not replicate too much, because although they did a great job in Shrek 2, Shrek 3, like I say, Shrek the Third and Shrek Forever After were complete and utter forget fests. I honestly can't tell you what I remember about Shrek the Third. I have no idea. I saw it once, I completely forgotten it. I had a brief knowledge, or brief remembrance of what happened in Shrek Forever After, but again, I couldn't tell you funny moments in the film or proper general plot points. Which is why you've got to look back at Shrek and think what a fantastic job it did in the first place, because every character was important. Even the side characters to a little bit are very, very funny, with Gingerbread Man and the Three Little Pigs, and even little moments with other fairies that just clicked in and out, and it's very, very funny. The music is wonderful. By Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell. It creates a wonderful, wonderful score, in particular that sort of classic sort of fairy tale score, if you will, and that fantasy sort of film. But that's not to say that this is a film where it uses quite a jukeboxy soundtrack and a poppy sort of soundtrack, and it isn't one of those we better pop a song in here because that'll keep the kids entertained for a little while, and oh, this is quite fun, isn't it? Oh, look at these characters dancing to this sort of music or reacting. Each particular song was very well chosen for those particular moments. Obviously, I think the sort of Smash stuff was great. Eels had a great sort of track in there as well, but there's some fabulous use of actually putting songs in for purely story development motives more than anything, which is great, because that's one thing I did not mention about the Angry Birds movie. That at a certain point you had a couple of songs in there, and you're like, what are these songs here for again? What am I learning from this? This is not funny. Whereas in this film, it was a storytelling ability that the songs were using. Yes, there we go. So I think it's a great use of music, a soundtrack, and great score generally. And like I say, it's the one probably little thing about the film is maybe some of the animation has dated a little bit, but this is a film that is 15 years old. So you would get to at least a little bit of it maybe has. It's not overly sort of dated, but there's little things you go, that has a little bit. It's noticeable. But that is not to the detriment to the enjoyment of the whole film. So, yeah, sorry, I just burped. How appropriate I just burped in the middle of this review, seeing what Cameron Diaz does. in the film. Better in than I did, I always say. Oh, I can't believe that just happened. There we go. Yeah, fabulously entertaining Shrek, and it's certainly worthy of seeing the second film. Stop at the second film. Do not watch anymore. But yeah, Shrek is my classic film of the week. Fantastically funny and so quotable, and it will never, never, ever get old. Ever. If I say that. I mean, do you love her? Yes. Do you want to please her? Yes. Then you gotta find a little tenderness. I mean, that's all I'm going to say at the end of that. Sorry about that. I needed to sing that for some reason. I have no idea why. There we go. Yeah, Shrek was my classic film of the week. It's a truly, truly great animated film. Better than what DreamWorks were doing at that moment in time, it's fair to say. There we go. Shrek, my classic film of the week. My theatrical release film of the week was, of course, the Angry Birds movie, which, as I previously said, was okay, but uninspiring. So there we go. This made it an animated special, an animation special even. So yes, thank you if you have for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed what I've had to say. If you have, please do subscribe to me, and I hope to see and speak to you again very, very soon. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.